I promise you all, I try my absolute best in this job to not strawman those I disagree with. In fact, I think it's a lot less fun, it's a lot less intellectually stimulating to twist the argument of my opponents just so I could slap it down easier. I think it's much more intriguing to take somebody at face value, look at the best version of their argument, and then respond to that. And look, unfortunately, I think it's rare in this space, but that's what I try my best to do. And I wish more would do that, but listen, every now and then you get an example of there is no world in which I could take the point that you're about to hear and make it better or more appealing than what it is. This is, even for the Daily Wire guys, even for Michael Knowles, this is really, really out there. So don't take my word for it. Take him at face value with the plain spoken words that come out of his mouth, and then we'll react to it. Watch this. This is Michael Knowles' ideal society. This is what he's trying to build. This is what he's trying to get to. You're not going to believe it.
Americans are as conservative today as they were back in 2012, which is fine, and it's a good start given how much more liberal the country had become since 2012.
Let me just pause to point out what he's referring to is a poll on gay marriage, which found that in recent years, or it might even be this year, there was a big drop back down for Republican support of gay marriage. I think it had gotten up to like 59% or so, and now or maybe 55, something like that. It plummeted in this one poll down to 41%. Every other group, independents, lefties, gay marriage support is still sky high. And in the country overall, it's about 70% now. So, the left has won this battle effectively, but there's a big dip among the far right. Okay, that's what he's referring to. But wait, this gets much, much better.
But if 2012 is the end point, then we might as well pack it in, guys. I do not want America to be as socially conservative as it was in 2012. I want our civilization to be as socially conservative as we were in 1220, okay? Forget it. I don't even want the 1950s. I don't even want the 1880s. I want 1220. I think that would be a good spot to land at.
You don't want to be as conservative as we were in 1950. You don't want to be as conservative as we were in 1890, socially, culturally. You want to go all the way back to 1220? 1220. How am I supposed to steel man that point, Michael Knowles? How am I supposed to help you out to then respond in good faith? How socially conservative was everybody in 1220? Well, certainly that would be a return of slavery. Certainly that would be a return of indentured servitude. Certainly that would be a return of women are just flat out property. They're property. By the way, you don't marry for love. You marry for political and economic arrangement. That's what you do back then. Certainly women would not even be allowed to own any property. It only gets passed down to men. Are we also going as far back as hey, all the modern accoutrements that we all love and support, cars gone? What do you want to live in, a Game of Thrones style medieval type situation where everybody just has swords? No air travel? Look, I'll try my best here to help him out. Let's get rid of the implications on no modern infrastructure. Let's get rid of the implications on no modern forms of transportation. Let's just focus on strictly socially and culturally where we'd be at. I already described it. There'd be slavery. At the very least, there'd be indentured servitude. Women would be treated as property. Abnormal behavior, aberrant behavior would be what? Punishable by death? So adultery, homosexuality. Obviously, there'd be no gay marriage. We're not even close in the conversation about gay marriage. There'd be no real expression of individuality, right? So if somebody wanted to, like we see today, get a piercing in a place that's a little risque, or dye their hair, that's out the window. Gone, 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 gone. How am I supposed to be kind to you here, Michael Knowles? I didn't say it. You said it. You want to go back to 1220 culturally and socially? Why should anybody watch Michael Knowles or listen to the Daily Wire? This is the world they're fighting for. I'll be clear and on the record about what I support. I support increased freedom and liberty. I think you should be able to do whatever you want to do as long as you're not hurting anybody else. That's what I think. And it's hilarious to me that these guys half the time like to pretend like they are the ones who are advocating for freedom and liberty, when very clearly on the record, they want more chains and they want to lock you in those chains. That's what they want to do. They make my job too easy, right? I don't have to say anything. I just need to play his own words and say, really? That's the world you want? That's the world you want? My guess is even many conservatives would be like, no, 1950 was fine with me. 1950 was fine with me. 1220? What do you want to live in, like a feudal lord-like situation? Is that what you want? Maybe. Maybe he wants feudalism back. Maybe he wants feudalism back. I don't know. It can't get any worse than this, but let's just keep it going.
I want 1220. I think that would be a good spot to land at. At the very least, I think we ought to be as conservative as we were before all the modern ideologies started corroding our civilization.
Really? Modern ideology corroded our civilization? You don't think that the Enlightenment was a good thing? You don't think a belief in freedom and individualism and liberalism, you don't think those things are good? You don't think due process is good? You don't think innocent until proven guilty is good? You don't think do whatever you want as long as you're not hurting anybody else is good? By the way, you go back to 1220. I don't know if I mentioned this before, but honor killings would be back in the question. So you look at like rural India, where there's still, to some extent, honor killings in some places, and you look at that and go, oh, I'm jealous. I would prefer we have that here. How dare you besmirch the name and legacy of your father? Maybe it's time to stone you to death because you kissed somebody. Jesus Christ.
Because that's been the big problem. The reason that a lot of people for a long time became more socially conservative, more open, more tolerant, is because they had the pillars of our civilization to rely upon. The church, the family, the productivity, the political order, the institutions, the system of law. We had all of that to rely upon. And so we were just leaning on that while we were indulging in an ideology that was eroding all of that.
They really think that there is some sort of natural order or truth embedded in a primitive kind of lifestyle. They really believe that. They really think that abiding by church dictates is a superior way to live. They don't view it as an institution of social regression and oppression. They view it as representing the best of us. I literally don't even know how to respond to that. How much evidence do you need that religion, when mixed with the political world, is a disaster? You want to know the most hyper-religious countries today? Well, look at Saudi Arabia. Is that what we should have? Should we have fundamentalist preachers who say you should be put to death for sorcery and witchcraft and apostasy and adultery and drug smuggling and all this? Is that what you want? I think that is what he wants. I think that is. And by the way, if you're going to do this whole like return to tradition type thing, why stop arbitrarily where you stop? Why not go back further? Why not do we need to bring back hunter-gatherer tribes, bro? And by the way, in hunter-gatherer tribes, everybody practiced polygyny. You know what that is? One man and multiple women. Everybody was getting freaky-deaky in that tribe. But it's weird. You want to go back, but you don't want to go back to a time when there actually were some traditions that were more on the liberal side than they were on the conservative side. You just want to be as hyper, ultra conservative and fundamentalist as humanly possible.
This is the thing about liberalism, is liberalism, including the old classical liberalism, it's just like an acid that you pour onto your civilization. And I don't know, maybe you like it. Maybe it's like lysergic acid, maybe it's like a drug or something. People kind of like this acid for a while, but it just starts to eat away at the thing upon which it must rest.
I think the acid that corrodes our society is conservatism. I think the acid that corrodes our society is tradition for tradition's sake. And that's what we see right now, where the right is waging a war on trans adults. We've seen this in a bunch of states where they try to ban any sort of medical intervention until the age of 26. That's corrosive. It's corrosive to take away freedom. It's corrosive to take away liberty. It's corrosive to be anti-gay marriage. When we're talking about consenting adults doing whatever they want. They're not hurting anybody else, just trying to live fulfilling, happy lives. You know what else is corrosive? You know what else is like acid to the economy? Tax cuts for the rich. More income and wealth inequality. Living at a time that has more income and wealth inequality than the Gilded Age. Living in a robber baron age with economic royalists where 70% of the country is living paycheck to paycheck. That's corrosive. That's like acid on your society. But no. No. His belief is we need to go back all the way to 1220 with the way we approach things socially. Stop and think about the world that Michael Knowles wants to create. He agrees with all the standard Republican policies on the economy. So he wants tax cuts for the rich. He wants deregulation. He wants tax cuts for corporations. He wants no penalties for these companies to outsource their jobs. So he wants you to live in a dog-eat-dog, unfettered, laissez-faire capitalist hellscape. At the same time, you have no social, cultural, personal freedoms. So no freedom to take a substance without hurting anybody else. No freedom to do that. No freedom to marry who you want. No freedom to express yourself through individuality. Making alterations to your appearance, etc. None of that. He wants you to be a slave to the institutions of a rigid hierarchical government and a fundamentalist church and a family. Oftentimes, the family doesn't even look out for your best interests and is held back by absurd traditions. Look, you pick. What makes more sense? Living in 1220 or not doing that? Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.